webinar. It is a pleasure to be with you today. My name is Sue Reynolds. I'm the Executive Director of the American Student Achievement Institute. The College Success Coalition is an initiative of Learn More Indiana. It is facilitated by the Student Achievement Institute on behalf of Learn More as an intermediary for Learn More Indiana. And it is really my pleasure to be with you. I know a lot of you are participating in today's webinar because you're interested in possibly starting a coalition in your county, or others of you may be listening because you're thinking about joining the coalition in your county. So here's the agenda for today. We want to quickly look at 8 questions. What is CSC? Why should you get involved? Who leads CSC at the county level? What support is provided by Learn More? What awards are provided by Learn More? Does this work? Maybe the biggest question is how much time is this going to take? And then finally, how does my county apply? So before we start, we need to define what is meant by the word college. For the College Success Coalition, the term college is used very broadly to include all types of post-secondary education. So 4-year colleges, 2-year colleges, apprenticeship programs, career colleges, and job training in the military. So again, when we use the term college, we're not just thinking 2-year or 4-year. We're thinking about all different types of post-secondary education. So the first question is, what is this College Success Coalition? So CSC is a county-based network of community organizations who actively work to increase college access and college completion. The goals of your county coalition would be these 3 things: to increase the percentage of students who enter college in the fall following their high school graduation. That's one goal. Another goal of your coalition would be to increase the percentage of students who earn a college certificate or diploma within 4 years of their high school graduation. And then the third goal is to increase the number of citizens in your county who hold a college credential. So when counties start coalitions, it's with these 3 goals in mind. So our vision for the coalition is that Indiana counties will have high expectations of students and adult learners. And those counties will have lots of caring people everywhere that provide consistent messages about the importance of post-secondary ed and the steps that students and adult learners need to take to get into post-secondary and to succeed in post-secondary. Currently, there are 50 counties in the coalition, and the 50 counties are on the screen. We will add another 20 counties this year as the 2013 cohort, and then the remaining counties in the state will become coalition members in 2014. Right now, participation in the coalition has been just incredibly large. We've been so pleased. We have just under 1,500 community organizations that have joined the coalition, and those community organizations have documented 2,225 community activities that they've put in place locally to increase college access and college success in their counties. Typically, member organizations would include this type of organization. So organizations that are focused on youth or focused on parents or focused on community development or economic development or on higher education. So you can see there's lots of different types of organizations in your counties that we believe care about kids and care about college access and college success. So schools, parent-teacher associations, community foundations, local government, economic development councils, just lots of different organizations. And here's just a sample of those 2,000 plus activities that are documented at this point. I want to highlight just a couple of my personal favorites. I love this one. This is an activity done by the Kokomo Housing Authority. They have worked to bring community reps into their housing communities. That way the youth that live in those communities can hear from college reps, but also the adult learners in those communities can network and meet and develop relationships with college reps. I thought that was a very cool activity. Another one that I just really love is a paint store in Terre Haute who decided that their employees could benefit from learning about the 529 savings plan. So they did a presentation for their employees. And then finally, a third one, which is very simple, but I think has a great impact, very inexpensive, great impact, is the Fayette County Commissioners. They did a stuffing into their paychecks so that all of their employees, the sheriff, their clerks, I mean just everybody who works for the county, got information about post-secondary as a stuffing in their paycheck. So just lots of different ideas, lots of different types of organizations. And again, the idea is that wherever people turn, if they're at school, if they're at their faith-based organization, if they're in the grocery store, if they're at their Boy Scout troop, wherever they're turning, they're getting information about why college and post-secondary is so important and the steps that they need to take to get there. So you may be asking, well, why is this important? Why should I get involved? Why should I spend my time starting this coalition and participating in the coalition? Well, here's a couple things that to me are pretty compelling. One reason is that in your community, the median weekly income will increase with the more education that your community citizens hold. So there's the numbers, and you can see that as you climb in your education level, your income is likely to also go up. This is also, to me, very compelling. There's been research done that shows that the income level for high school dropouts and those with just a high school diploma also increase as the percentage of citizens with a college credential in a community increases. So again, this is economically helping not only those folks in your communities with a post-secondary credential, but also those in your community who don't hold a post-secondary credential. In terms of economic growth, this is from an article published in the American Economic Review that explains that labor force quality has a consistent, stable, and strong relationship with economic growth. So if your county is interested in economic growth, the quality of the labor force is extremely important. And the strongest proven influence on the quality of the labor force is education. So again, the thought here is that the more education your county's citizens have, the greater your economic growth is going to be. Another thing to look at is your county's unemployment rate. There's data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics that shows that the more education you have, the less likelihood it is that you'll be unemployed. We also know that college degree holders smoke at less than half the national rate, exercise twice as much, spend more time on education with their children, volunteer twice as often, and vote at a rate of 20 to 30% higher. So these are really compelling reasons for why increasing the percentage of your county citizens that have a post-secondary credential is so important. So that's the why. Now let's talk about the how. First thing I'd like to look at is the organizational structure and specifically who leads this initiative in your county. So the organizational structure is that there are member organizations and then there's a steering team. The member organizations actually are the decision makers, and the steering teams help those members have discussions where they make decisions about the county's goals, about the county's activities, about the county's vision. So the member organizations come to the table, they hold discussions, they make decisions for the direction of the coalition, but also for their individual organization. And the steering team are the people that make it happen. They're the people that convene the meetings, that facilitate the discussions, that document the progress. So they're the worker bees, but the decision makers in all of this are the member organizations. Currently, in some of our 50 counties that have coalitions, some of them have 100 member organizations already. Some of them have 16. So again, the idea that is that the more member organizations we have in place, then the more areas there are that when people turn to that area, there's somebody talking about why post-secondary is important and talking to them about the steps to get there. So member organizations supported by a steering team. Then let's talk about the steering team. When you're ready to put together your coalition, the first thing that you do, it's actually part of the application, is to determine who will be on your steering team. Our organization has been involved in network development and statewide movement development for the past 20 years. And this is a steering team makeup that we have found is very effective because each of these members brings something specific to the table. So someone from local government, someone from your Chamber of Commerce or Economic Development, somebody from your local community foundation, a high school counseling director, a college admissions rep, post-secondary admissions rep, faith-based organization, youth service organization, and a service club representative. Service club being Kiwanis or Optimist, a service club in your community. So as you're thinking about it, some of these folks have the ability to bring resources to the table. Others of these folks have the ability for outreach. They can reach parents, they can reach kids, they can reach parishioners, they can reach people in your community. So this is a steering team of 8. But remember that for example, the high school counseling director is not the only high school counseling director that's involved. That high school counseling director is going to do outreach with the other high school counseling directors in your county and bring everybody in as member organizations. These are the steering team members, the worker bees that put this all in place. So the tasks of those 8 people are to do these 3 things. 1 is to recruit member organizations. 2 is to facilitate member discussions. In the first year, there's just 3 discussions. 1 is to define what is our community vision around post-secondary ed, and then to set very specific data-driven goals, and then to determine what are each of the member organizations going to do to help your county reach that goal. And then the third task of the steering team is to document your work. That helps you make decisions in the future, and it also helps you to show others, especially people who may be able to bring funding to the table, that you have a data-driven process and that you're starting to see results. So those are the tasks of the steering team. So our organization provides a lot of support for those 8 people, for that steering team. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the support that's provided. We have tried to give the steering team everything it needs to be successful at the 3 tasks that we just talked about. So here's what's available. First of all, we provide workshops. In the first year, there are 5 face-to-face workshops. And the first one's next month, November 21st. And what we'll talk about at the first one is how to go out and recruit members for your coalition. Then the second one's in January, and we'll prep the steering team for holding that first discussion where we talk about the vision for your county. Then in February, we'll prep for the second discussion. In March, we'll prep for the third discussion. And then at the end of the year, in April, we'll talk about, okay, now let's put together a governance system for your steering team and your coalition to help it sustain. So we will, at each of these meetings, we talk about how-to, we give you all the resources, and we also send you home back to your county with a homework assignment. So at the November meeting, your first homework assignment will be to recruit members, and we'll give you a specific number of members that we'd like to see recruited before January. Then we'll come back in January. Your homework at that meeting will be to hold the first meeting of all your member organizations. So after each of these workshops, there's homework tasks. Then we've also provided a website that will help support your work. What we're looking at now is the public part of the website. So this is the opening page. And there's a couple things I wanted to point out that are on the public website that you could go to right now and look at. First of all, in the left navigation bar, if you click on Activity Search, you can look at all 2,200 and plus activities that have been documented in our system. The second arrow there on the right points to the implementing organization type. I think this is fascinating. This morning when I was preparing for this webinar, I went in and just started looking at what different types of organizations were doing. And I could look at local government, and up comes 20 or 30 mayor's offices that are implementing activities. Or I could look at public library and see all the activities that I think there's 19 libraries now across the state that have entered activities. So it's a way to just get good ideas. I always find this page really energizing as I see all the cool things that other organizations are doing. And we always talk about that it's okay to copy a cool idea. So if you see a cool idea, you can implement it in your organization. So that's one resource. Another resource I wanted to point out to you that's on the public site that you could access and use right now is we also provide a speakers bureau. So there are currently 57 approved speakers that can present on a variety of topics listed associated with college access and college success. So if your school needs a speaker, or your Boy Scout troop, or your parent-teacher organization, or your church youth group, you can go in and request a speaker on a variety of topics. So that's on the public page. And then also on the public page, you can volunteer to become a member organization and apply. So the first thing that members do is they agree to certain things. One thing is that their member organization will implement at least one college access activity per year. This could be something very, very simple. For example, a Boy Scout troop that's going on a camp outing. If they happen to be driving by IUPUI, they could just take the bus or the vans through IUPUI and point out to the kids, when you get into post-secondary, this is what your campus will look like, and this is a dorm, and you'll be living with all your friends. Very simple, low-energy activity. The activities could also be huge. You could be part of a member organization who decide that they're going to organize a mentoring program for a number of students in the county. So small activities are fine, and big activities are fine too. They also, your member organizations agree to submit a brief description of their activities into the website. They acknowledge that they understand that there are 3 meetings. They're not required to go to the 3 meetings, but we just want them to acknowledge that they're aware of the 3 meetings. And then finally, the other thing that they agree to before they join is that they're going to encourage other organizations in the county to join the coalition as well. So but that's all through the public page. And then there's a private side to the website. This is a kind of a managed set of management tools for your steering team. So steering team members log in, and when they hit that login logo on the left, they'll get a login page. If you'd like to go in and kind of play around and explore, if you use demo123 for both the username and password, you'll be able to get in and click on everything and go to the different pages and see how the website works. When you log in, this is what you see. So when your county has its steering team developed and they have the username and password just for their steering team, they can log in and see these pages. And I'd like to go through and show you a couple of the pages. The first one is the manual page. And what I would like you to see on this page is that when you're ready to prepare, when you start preparing for one of your local meetings, we give you everything you need, all the handouts for that meeting and all the tools for that meeting. You can change anything. So on the cover, you can add the name of your county's coalition to it. You can put your name on the agenda. On the PowerPoint presentations, which are all scripted, on the PowerPoint presentations, if you don't like a slide, just take it out. Or if you don't like something that's worded, take it out. It's even okay with us for you to change the name of the initiative in your county. If you don't like the term College Success Coalition, you can call it something different at home, although most of our counties have kept that term. So there's all the handouts you need, and then there's all the preparation things that you need. So down in that tools section, there's a document that is preparation for meeting 1. It's just step 1, step 2, step 3. And then in each of the tools section, there's the final document in that section is what to do after your meeting. So we wanted to kind of show you this manual as kind of evidence that we're going to do a lot of the prep work for you so that you can just grab this stuff, edit it, and then take off running when you're ready for your meetings. Then this is the process page, and this is really kind of the work page. This is a step-by-step, you know, how to get your coalition going. So the first step is to put together your steering team, and you'll see that there's an icon in the manual column that will take you to the manual directly to the steering team materials. In the criteria column are our criteria for best practices for counties that do this well. And then in the entry column, in that section, there is an icon that you can click. That's going to take you to an entry page where you would actually type in the members of your steering team coalition. And then after things are typed out, in the right-hand column where it says report, that is where you can print a report to get out what you've typed in. Also want to point out the status column. After you submit something, the status turns to submitted, and then our staff reviews it and will give you written feedback within 48 hours. And that status could change to meets criteria. It could change to needs revision if we think you're headed in the direction that's going to hurt you later in terms of sustaining your coalition. So that's the process page. You just start with number 1, and you just work down the page. And this is a kind of a comprehensive process, but we go step by step between November and April or May to get all those steps done. Just wanted to show you this is what an entry page looks like. This happens to be the Coalition Goals page. And you'll notice on the Coalition Goals page that we have pulled in data from our sources for 2010, 11, and 12. And then when you get to this section, you would just type in here, what's our goal for 2018, 2025, and then what's our ideal goal? If we had a magic wand and could make everything perfect in our county, what would our ideal data be? So, this is just an example of an entry page. There's also pages like this for your vision statement, for your activities, everything that every product that's going to come out of the process, there's an entry page so you can just get that stuff in and keep it. Okay, I already talked about this, but with each product, there's a submission button. You just hit that submit button, and then that'll send it to our staff for review against the published criteria. And again, we're wanting counties to do high quality work. So, and we've also learned along the 20 years we've been doing this, points that if counties don't do these things at a quality level, where it's really going to hurt them later in terms of sustaining their coalition. So we're always kind of watching and helping and coaching. And then when you submit something to us, written feedback within 48 hours. Other resources that you're provided, Learn More Indiana has a website, learnmoreindiana.org, that is just dynamite. There's all kinds of resources on that website. Also, your member organizations can request multiple copies of the Learn More magazines. So if you have a doctor's office, for example, that's a member organization, that office could request these magazines to put out in their lobby. Or if you're part of a church youth group, you could request copies to pass out to your members. So, so you've got magazines, and then also member organizations are invited to be part of the statewide Learn More campaigns. So there's 3 campaigns: College Go Week, which happened in September, Cash for College that normally happens in January, and then Know How to Go that happens in the spring and summer. So your member organizations may choose to do activities as part of these statewide campaigns. We also provide on-call support. We have 2 strategic planning specialists who totally understand vision-based and data-driven systemic change. Susan and Mary Beth are available for on-call support. We have a kind of a rule that we call the 5-minute rule. We always tell people if you are confused for more than 5 minutes, you are required to call us. But our staff will quickly change that to the 5-second rule. We just really don't want you wasting your time. So anytime something doesn't make sense or you forget what to do or whatever, just call us. So that's part of the support that we provide. So the next question is then, we've talked about the supports. So what awards are provided? There's an award for first year, second year, and third year. So the first year award comes in the form of funding. For counties that are starting coalitions, there's a $6,000 in funding that is available. The startup funding is available almost immediately. All counties need to do is create their steering team, get it documented, identify a fiscal agent, and identify the dates for their 3 member organization meetings. So at that point, then the paperwork can go through for the $1,000 startup funding. And then at the end of the first year, after a county has gone through the process, they've recruited member organizations, they've held their meetings, and they have documented that they have a vision and goals, they have targeted concerns or identified the things that are getting in the way of their goals. They have member activities that are planned, and they've developed a governance structure and created an annual budget. At that point, then, the county qualifies for the second funding, the $5,000. That $5,000 can be spent on activities that are related to the goals of your coalition. It can also be saved as a budget reserve for the county's coalition. So, so some funding that comes with the first year. Then, in the second year is about implementing the activities that were planned during the first year. So in the second year, the deliverable is that your member organizations have actually implemented the activities that they planned. In other words, it's not just a plan on paper, but it's actually into action. And at that point, your county gets this huge road sign. I'm starting to see these come up all over the state. The one in the picture on the right happens to be on the road coming into Bloomington in Monroe County. And it's right there on the side of the road, and it is huge. So this road sign is recognizing that your county is implementing activities related to college success and college access. And then the Indiana Commission for Higher Education has named your county as an Indiana College Success County. That's a great award to be able to talk about as your economic development folks are recruiting business. Realtors love to be able to tell folks that the county is a college success county. It's a big deal. On the bottom left, that photo is of the steering team from Lawrence County, part of the steering team from Lawrence County, as they were receiving this award. We do a big ceremony at the State House in the Rotunda, and the commissioner is there, Teresa Lubbers, and she'll present the road signs that you'll take home with you. So that happens during year 2. Then in year 3, if the deliverable is to be fully engaged, so your steering team is humming, you've got a lot of member organizations, they're all implementing activities, and what you qualify for then is to be eligible for an Indiana Summit. We actually have counties apply to host an Indiana Summit. This fall we did 8 of them in 8 different counties. And basically it's a chance for you to bring your member organizations to the table to have a small group discussion and presentation from Commissioner Lubbers. These have been just incredible. In Shelby County, for example, Mayor Tom DeBon introduced the commissioner. They had, I think, 75 member organizations there. It was just awesome. And we also had an extremely successful summit with 100-plus people in Vigo County. And in Vigo County, the 5 colleges that reside in Vigo County, all of their presidents came to the summit, and they introduced Commissioner Lubbers. So it's kind of a big deal to have the commissioner come to your county to talk with your local member organizations. Kind of a nice thing. So That's the perk or the award for counties in year 3 that have really sustained their coalitions. So, probably wondering, okay, does this work? Well, we know it works in terms of engaging people, you know, having almost 1,500 member organizations and documentation of 2,200 activities. We know in terms of engaging people this is successful. But we also want to look at the baseline data in looking at those 3 data points. Did we have more high school graduates start post-secondary right after high school? Did we have more high school graduates complete a post-secondary credential within 4 years of high school? And do we have more adults who have a post-secondary credential? Right now, we just have baseline data. In the coming years, we'll be following this data as a state to see this data go up, to watch how these activities, the impact these activities have had on those 3 benchmarks. So we're looking forward to seeing that data go up. I'm also really pleased that we now have this data. The Indiana Commission for Higher Education has done a great job in the past couple of years of working with the colleges, both inside and nationally, to pull college access and college completion data in for Indiana high school graduates. The question, how much time will this take? You know, anytime we're creating a movement that's countywide or statewide, this is going to take some time. But we're going to create a way of doing this so that it's not overly time-consuming for any one person. So it is going to be time-consuming. However, it's going to be manageable for these 3 reasons. One is when you create a really strong steering team of responsible, hardworking worker bees, those 8 people, which is the first thing you do, that gives you people then that tasks can be delegated to. Part of our organizational structure that will help you set up is to assign a certain type of task to each member of your steering team. So one member will be responsible for communicating with the media. Another person will be responsible for coordinating all the recruitment effort. Another person will be responsible for facilitating or managing the facilitation of the member organization discussions. So we will help you delegate the tasks. We will give you everything you need to complete those tasks. And then also this is a step-by-step process where, you know, each month you will come together, we'll talk about what's the next step. You'll go home and you'll do it. You'll come back. We'll talk about the next step. You'll have the support of our staff, and you'll be able to network with the other 19 counties that are at the trainings to talk about how things are going for them. And if a county has a roadblock or a hurdle, then everybody can brainstorm, you know, what they maybe had done to get past a similar hurdle. So finally, how does my county apply? If I go back to the public site, learnmoreindiana.org/CSC, that arrow is pointing to the link to the application. So the application is just 4 pages. We tried not to ask you for anything that we didn't need. The first page is just basically your contact information, and then we ask you to identify the 8 people that will be on your steering team. That is the biggest part of the application, is getting good worker bees on your steering team. And let's talk about that for a moment. You might be able to read there that the first team member that you're going to name is your local government representative. So in thinking about who should that person be, sometimes folks will think, well, let's get the mayor. But does the mayor have time to be a worker bee? Are they going to be on the phone calling people to be potential members? Are they going to be online documenting the tasks that you've done? It may be that your mayor is great to have as a coalition member, but not as a steering team member. So be thinking about that. You don't want to put people on your steering team that maybe have big titles and big names, but aren't going to have the time to be a good worker bee for you. So maybe instead of the mayor, maybe you would ask the mayor if they could identify somebody in their office that they could donate their time to working on this initiative. Same thing with the Chamber of Commerce or the Community Foundation. So we're looking for worker bees. Remember, the decision makers are the coalition members. So we want the mayor there at the table there. We want somebody who's in a leadership role in your Chamber of Commerce or in economic development at the table as member organizations, but not necessarily as the worker bees, as your steering team members. So that's first page. Second page, we give you some tips on how to set yourself up for success by identifying the right people on your steering team. We talk about different qualities that we want at least one person of the steering team to have. We want somebody you'll need someone who's credible and who has credibility in your community. Someone who's just a natural leader. They may not even have a leadership title, but they just have a skill for leading. Somebody who has who is someone who's natural at holding others accountable. Someone who's a change maker, who has a history of being a change maker in your county. And then also somebody who has the ability to allocate resources. So it's not necessary that every person has all 5 of those qualities, but it's really helpful that at least one person of the 8 is really strong in those one of the 5 counties, or one of the 5 qualities. So that's pages 1 and 2. Page 3 are assurances, and we all spend a lot of time on this, and this is basically just assuring that everybody's going to follow through. So the first part is what your steering team is going to assure that they're going to do, come to the trainings, document your county's work, recruit members, etc. And then the second part of this talks about what Learn More Indiana and our staff will do in order to make this all successful. So it's your promise to us, and then it's our promise to you on what we're all going to do to make this successful. And then finally, at the bottom right is a list, is an area for your steering team members to sign off that they are on board with this application, that they're aware of the application, and that they support it. So pretty simple application. There are a couple of short essays about why you want to do this work. I mean, really just like a paragraph short. And also why you think you have the right steering team in place, why at least one of your members is a change maker. So, okay, so there's that application. And again, I just want to heads up the biggest mistake that steering teams make that can just kill you in the long run is to not have responsible worker bees on that steering team. We need people to follow through. And what happens is that if you don't have responsible worker bees on that steering team, the work still has to get done. So it ends up falling all on the shoulders of one person, and then it starts to get done in a kind of mediocre way. We're just trying to jump through the hoops. It's not being done thoughtfully. So the best thing you can do is to make sure that you have worker bees on that steering team. There's additional information on the public part of the website. So the arrow is pointing to a little link that says additional information. If you click on that link, you'll go to this page, and there's several resources and just tips for how to get the coalition started. Wanted to point out this bottom link in the first section, this will actually be an archived version of the webinar that we're doing right now. So tomorrow that will be changed to archived webinar, and this presentation will be there. And then also just wanted to point out that, when you start working on this, if you just want to, do this first, do this second, there's some steps on how to get the coalition started in your county. Application timeline. So today we're doing this webinar. The week of October 21st, our staff will call each of the people that participated in the webinar, and also each of the people that participated in the face-to-face meeting that we did last week. And basically we're just calling to see, how are you doing? Do you need help from us? Are you running into any roadblocks? And the first task, getting your 8 steering team members on board and getting 8 people to get fired up enough about this that they're going to agree to be a worker bee for you, that's not it's not a really hard task, but sometimes people get stuck. So we just want to make sure that we're there on the phone helping you as you go along. So we'll give you a call, just kind of touch base with you the week of October 21st. Applications are due November 7th, and then real quick after that, November 12th, we'll let you know if your county was selected. This is a competitive application, so if we have more than 20 applications, which we do from time to time, we'll notify those who have been accepted to be involved in this year, and then let those who aren't accepted know that as well. The one thing I really wanted to point out, which is why it's in red font, is that shortly after you get notified is the first steering team workshop, November 21st, 10 to 3 in Indianapolis. And at that workshop, it's really important that all 8 of your steering team members attend. We're going to be teaching everybody about the organizational structure, about the task delegation. We'll give you time to actually delegate your tasks. We're going to talk about member recruitment. We'll give you time to talk with the other 8 people about who's going to recruit which folks at home, which organizations at home. It's really a key meeting, and it's really important that all 8 steering team members are there. So what we would suggest is that as you are calling people to be steering team members, that you tell them right off the bat, please pencil in November 21st, because if our county is selected, we'll be needing to go to this intro meeting. So tell people that up front, and then when you find out on the 12th if you have been selected or not, at least that'll be on people's calendars. So okay. Then we know that at times counties are going to get stuck doing the tasks that we've asked them to do. Your first task is to put together your steering team, and for some of you, you're going to get stuck in doing that. You may find, you know, for whatever reason, I just can't get anybody from a school anywhere in our county to agree to be on the steering team, and I'm just stuck. If that happens, please, please call us. As I've mentioned, we've been doing this type of work for 20 years. We've talked to a lot of other organizations that have gotten stuck, and we've also talked to a lot that have not gotten stuck and learned from them what they've done in situations that are probably similar to yours. So if you get stuck, please, please, please call us. The other thing that we'd like you to know up front is that we are also very, very flexible. We'll always put out to you best practices because we want you to be successful. But we also know that at times, for a really good reason, you can't meet that best practice. And if that's the case, please call us and just tell us what the situation is. At that point, we can say, oh, we understand why you can't meet it, but have you thought about this? And we'll give you some tips. Or we might say, okay, we understand. We can accept that this time, but here's what we'd like you to do in place of that, or here's what we'd like you to do next time because you weren't able to do it this time. So our goal is to coach you and mentor you and help you be successful. At times we know that that means that we need to be flexible. So anytime you get stuck or something's getting in the way, just please, please, please call us and we'll talk through it and figure out what needs to be done. So let's pause here and see if people have questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand. And let me kind of scroll through my control panel, and I'm seeing that, let's see, I'm seeing a question from Jim Heck, who is asking where are the workshops held. The workshops are in Indianapolis at the Indianapolis Wyndham West. It's the old Adams Mark on the west side of town by the old airport. Okay. And next question. Looks like that wasn't really a question. And that's it. I'm not seeing any hands up. I'm not seeing any other questions. I'll give you just a minute. If you have a question, raise your hand real fast or type it in there. I want to make sure that I've answered any questions that you might have before we end the webcast. Okay. Okay, very good. So finally then, after today, if you have questions, please, please, please call us. We have 2 staff people who are assigned to this initiative, Susan Tharp and Mary Beth Granderson. They are both wonderful. Susan has a background in financial aid and has worked for a number of years for Learn More Indiana. She's now on our staff. And Mary Beth Granderson has at least a decade of experience with us in a variety of different initiatives. She is a very big expert on systemic change, and specifically our vision to action process. So she's been through this a million times, helping people put together steering teams and work through the process, as has Susan. So please call them. You can reach both of them by calling our office, 812-349-4142, or you can send them an email. So thank you very much. We look forward to getting your applications, and more than that, we look forward to working with you. We love doing this work. We know that it's meaningful for kids, and for our staff to be able to help adults who help kids, we really think is a wonderful opportunity, and really we feel blessed to be able to do this work. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your phone calls. Thank you.